Today's your 80th birthday. Happy birthday. Where were you born?
I was born in St. Olaf Hospital in Austin, Minnesota, but I don't know the exact time. It might have been 10 o'clock or so in the morning, but I do know that it was a nice day because Mom said the children were outside running around without coats.
So you were the oldest of all your sisters. How did your parents meet?
How did they meet? I think, well, they only lived like 2 miles apart on farms near Austin, Minnesota, and I think they met at a dance or something. I'm not real sure about that. I just know that the first time my mother did go out with my dad, um, her mother or dad said, "You're not going." And that was because he was known to be kind of wild.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know much about Grandpa Dick because I don't remember much of him. I remember a lot of Grandma B.
Yeah.
What was some of your first memories of the two of them when you were just a baby or when you were young?
When I was young, oh, going outside and, being in the barn when they'd be milking and running around and they'd be stripping the cows and we'd sit along the edge of the wall and talk to them or talk to the hired men as they were as they called stripping the cows after they'd had the milkers on them. Um, Otherwise, as I got older, since I was the oldest of five girls, I'll never forget buying shoes because you had to have a full shoe. You didn't buy shoes with holes in it because you didn't spend all that money on shoes with holes. And we'd have to be kind of sneaky about me getting different things sometimes.
So you say you're the oldest of all your sisters. What do you remember specifically about them growing up? Whether it was like their first memory of each one, or just a memory that you have of your siblings.
Well, I went to the one room schoolhouse, and there, you can see what each class is doing when the teacher brings you up to the front of the room to have class with the first graders, second graders, and etc. So I would come home and make them play school with me, and they did not like that sometimes. Otherwise, Helen, she liked the horses, and so did Susie. Kathy was our princess, and she did become princess. She was a Moore County Dairy princess at one time because she was always in front of the mirror primping herself. And Mary, she's 15 years younger than I am, so when I was dating Ralph, she would come and sit on his lap and kiss and hug him and say, "Aren't you jealous yet?"
Jealous to you?
Yeah.
So then let's get into where did Ralph come into the picture here?
Well, my girlfriend was dating his brother Arnold, but for some reason she was going to this Christmas party with somebody else, so I went with Arnold on a blind date to the party. And then during the Christmas break from college, and I was a sophomore in college, Ralph and Arnold and two other boys came by Carol's house, and I was there, and we went to go bowling, but it was full. So we went roller skating, and one of the other kids paid my way into the roller skating. And then when they took me back home on the farm, Ralph walked me to the door.
And then that's where it all started.
Yes.
And then, because you went to college, right?
At St. Teresa's in Winona, which does not exist now.
What did you go to school for there for?
Home economics.
And then, is there stories, rumors that Ralphie sent you some love letters pretty often? He send you some?
Yeah, he wrote to me almost every day my senior year anyway. We got engaged the year before, in this November of my junior year. And yes, he did. He wrote letters almost every day.
How did he ask you to marry him?
We were up on Garvin Heights, and he had
Mm-hmm.
the ring in the glove compartment and had been carrying it around for a couple months, and he just pulled it out and said, "Would I marry him?"
How long was it from when he proposed to when you guys got married?
Just a little over a year.
Okay. Where'd you guys get married?
we were the first one married at St. Edward's Catholic Church in Austin, Minnesota, so it was in the gymnasium.
Oh, how many people were there?
I think 150 about.
Because Grandpa's from around that area, right? Rose Creek?
Yes,
Yeah.
which is 10 miles southeast of Austin.
Yeah. So then, how did you end up in, or just tell me about your life after you married Grandpa, where you guys moved, what you guys did.
Oh, well, I was teaching home ec at Rose Creek High School, and he had built a house right across the street from the school when he was only 21. And then we were only married 10 months, and he got drafted. And he ended up going to Atlanta, Georgia. So then, after teaching 2 years, I ended up going down to Georgia, to Atlanta, to be with him. And that's where Debbie was born, was down there. And then when we came back to Rose Creek, I didn't work anymore. And he also was a mayor on a write-in vote when we came back, which was kind of funny. We did that for 2 years. And then Rick was born in Austin. And then after that, he was working for some carpenters for Rose Creek that were farmers that were carpenters. And in the winter, they did not work. So he was looking for a different job that would employ him all year. So he went down to Waterloo to check out John Deere. And while in a gas station, he got talking to a guy, and he said, well, you will need a house. And Ralph looked at the little card, and it said building and realtor. And he said, well, building is more my line of work. And they said, well, we need carpenters. So he went to Deere's, he applied there, and then he also went and visited the construction crew. And this was on a Wednesday, and on a Monday he started working down in Waterloo.
So then you've been there ever since, right?
Yeah. Well, then we lived in Waterloo until 1970 when we moved to Cedar Falls.
So then Debbie was born Georgia, Rick was born in Austin, and then everyone else was born in either Waterloo or Cedar Falls.
Waterloo.
How was being a mother to 5 kids back then?
5 kids in 8 years.
Yeah.
A busy time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But we survived.
Do you have any, whether it's about Rick or any of the kids, just some good stories, some good juicy details that we can tell people?
Oh, that Rick, he made life interesting, of course. One time we went to a wedding and got called home because Brian had a cut on his forehead that I found out that Rick had threw him on the bed and missed, and he hit the corner of the bed, and we had to take him get a couple stitches on him. Oh, yes. And then he was kind of mean to his sister, Debbie, too.
Why do you think that was?
Don't ask me.
Which one of your kids was the easiest?
Oh, Randy was the meek and mild one, the middle one.
And it sounds like Rick might have been the...
He was a little testy. And another thing is when I go to the grocery store, and now they give me a bad time about it, I had a harness on Randy. So when we were in the grocery store, I would push one cart and pull the other. And then when we go back to the car and stuff, I had Randy on a leash so he couldn't run away from me. And they thought that was being cruel now.
Oh, man. So then let's get into Dad. He got into sports. He tells me the story of how he first started to play sports with the older boys, and he went and talked to you about that. Do you remember that?
No, not.
He said there was a group of boys a little bit older than him wanting to play
baseball. On one lot in Cherrywood.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to play, but he couldn't get in there. So I told him to go down there and sit and see if you couldn't get on. And finally he got on.
Yeah, because that's what he said. That was his first memory of actually playing sports. When did you realize that? Because I'm assuming you went to every game of Dad's and every game of all your kids that they played in.
That I could, yes.
Yeah. When did you realize that Dad might be able to do something in college or actually do something more?
When he was playing football at Cedar Falls High School, he was the quarterback, and I remember in his earlier days of some college coaches there or pros, and made a comment about his big hand that he could hold a whole gallon of milk in the bottom of his hand. And that, and probably his junior and senior year, then when coaches started showing a little interest in it.
All right, now I want to go back. Do you have a specific memory that you can remember of each one of your kids? So, like, start with Deb. Be like, what's just one of the first ones that comes to your mind? And also, if you got one for Rick, Randy, Sharon, and Brian.
Well, when we were in the Cherrywood in the tri-level house, she would come home from school and say, "Get in the door, Mom. Are you up or down?" Well, let's see, Rick. Well, I had to go to school one day and get him because he almost passed out. And come to find out, he tried to slug a kid or something, and he hit his hand or arm on the wall. Randy, he would faint at the least little bit of if they saw film on blood or something to do with that. He couldn't handle that. Sharon, she almost was choking one day at breakfast, and she was older too, and Dad grabbed her and gave her like the
Heimlich.
Heimlich, and so she came out of that okay. Brian, well, when he went to kindergarten, we had to take the buses, and back then I did not take my kids to school ahead of time to show them where they were going and who their teacher was and etc. So here he is. I'm sending him on the bus to go to school, and he starts down the road, and he turns around and looks at me, and he's crying. I said, "Get going, get going." He'd go a little bit farther, and then he'd turn around, and he'd cry some more, and finally he got on the bus. And then I called his teacher, and she talked to him, and then it went okay after that.
All right, so then when Dad went to school at Nebraska Omaha, and then he met Allie, what was your first thought of, or when he said that, "I'm bringing this girl home," or "You're going to meet this girl who is the All-American volleyball player"? What was your first thought about that?
Oh, how wonderful.
So then getting into once your kids grow up and they all have kids, if you were before you had your first grandkid, how many grandkids did you think you were going to maybe have?
I guess I never gave it much thought.
You gave it much thought? Because how many are we at right now?
We're at 14 and 14 and 5.5.
Yeah, we're almost at a great grandson here.
Well, when Rick was playing football in high school, and we went to Ames to a ball game, and it rained, and we had a big canvas over the top of us to keep us from getting soused. But every time he came off the field, he wiped his hands on the cheerleaders' skirts.
I remember hearing that story. That's funny.
Oh, and then when he brought his clothes home that day, we took them out in the driveway and washed them down there first.
with the hose?
So muddy, yes.
That's funny.
Well, when we took them to college, and they didn't have dorms at Omaha then, and so when we dropped them off, it was a rickety old building, and the steps were kind of dirty and stuff, and he had to live with, was it 4 other guys? 3 or 4 other guys. And so I could never hug him and say goodbye because it was bothering me too much. So I just waved at him and said, "Goodbye, we'll see you." And then next day he called and wanted to quit and come home, and I said, "No, you're tied into your rent," because they had to pay the rent for 6 months or whatever it was. I said, "You have to stick it out." And I don't know where I found the strength, but it was there to tell me, "Don't give in." So I didn't give in. And then I also called one of the coaches and talked to him. I don't know if that did any good. And then I had John Runcie, our good friend, send him a letter, and a couple of people write to him, encourage him. So, and he stuck it out, and then a few months later, we'd go through the same thing again. And then when he met Allie, that took care of it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I didn't know it. Sorry, that's a good story. Is there like a moment when you think of my dad and his like life, like what you like the most proud of him for, whether it's sports or having a great son like me, kind of thing, you know?
Well, just how well he has done, because school was hard for him, and so to see him get through college and find his wonderful wife and have his three beautiful children and do well in his job is all very, very proud of him.
One last thing. What some good life advice? Life advice, marriage advice, how to stay happy, how to just make it through the day. Make it last 80 years and make it an okay life. How about that?
Well, do lots of praying. And like when I went to college at St. Teresa's, that's a Catholic college course. Nobody made me, but I went to church or mass every morning, and I really feel the graces I accumulated there has helped me through the 80 years of our trials and tribulations, as they say, and death and sickness and in health and whatever. You get through the marriage, and that's what we've surely been through lately. And another thing is you have to overlook the little things and dwell on the good things. And then our children have all been so wonderful, and they all and their kids and all the grandkids and all the sporting events that we
Mm-hmm.
enjoy going to. So I don't know. You just have to have a lot of faith and be kind and good and give compliments once in a while.